I did everything you're supposed to do. I set massive goals. I made vision boards. I hustled like my life depended on it. And all that hard work led me to the most successful and most miserable year of my life. What if the very thing you think is pushing you forward is actually what's killing your drive and pushing you toward burnout? The psychology here is pretty surprising, and it points to a trap that millions of us fall right into. We've been sold a myth about achievement, and today, we're tearing it down. Does this sound familiar? You set a big goal, you go all in, and you sacrifice sleep, friendships, and your own sanity to get there. You just tell yourself it'll all be worth it when you finally cross that finish line. Whether it's a promotion, a revenue target, or just finishing a monster project, you're fueled by the promise of that one single moment. But then, a weird thing happens. You actually hit the goal. For a split second, there's relief, maybe a little buzz of excitement, but it's gone almost as fast as it came. An empty feeling starts to creep in, and it brings a crushing question with it. Now what? Instead of feeling fulfilled, you just feel hollow. This is the paradox of achievement. Sometimes the chase leaves you feeling empty, even when you win. This isn't some personal flaw. It's a well-known psychological trap. High achievers are especially vulnerable. You can get tangled up in feelings of being a fraud, what some call imposter syndrome, or you live with a constant, gnawing fear that you won't be able to keep up the pace. This pressure to constantly one-up yourself turns your ambition into a source of chronic stress. You become so focused on the next milestone that you completely miss the journey, and you can't even enjoy the destination. The more you achieve, the higher the stakes feel, and the more your self-worth gets tied to your last win. You start to think your value as a person is your last accomplishment, and that locks you in an endless cycle of striving that is a direct flight to burnout. I was stuck in that exact cycle. Every success felt less like a victory and more like the starting gun for an even harder race. My drive, which I always thought was my greatest strength, had turned into a huge burden. It left me exhausted and feeling totally disconnected from the very success I'd worked so hard for. So, why does this happen? Why does a strategy that's supposed to be motivating so often leave us anxious and exhausted? Well, the science shows a few critical flaws in the way we've been taught to set goals. First, let's talk about your brain on goals. When you're chasing something, your brain releases dopamine, the feel-good neurotransmitter tied to motivation. Here's the kicker. The anticipation of the reward is often way more powerful than the reward itself. The problem is, once you hit that goal, the source of that dopamine dries up. This can lead to a feeling of flatness, leaving you unmotivated and looking for the next big thing to chase. You essentially get hooked on the pursuit, not the prize, which slowly eats away at your natural motivation. It's a big reason why lottery winners often report being unhappy a few months after their big win. They adapt to the new reality, and the thrill is gone, a phenomenon often called hedonic adaptation. Second, old-school goal setting can create a dangerous kind of tunnel vision. Research shows that when we are hyper-focused on one specific target, we tend to ignore other important things, like ethics or safety. A classic, tragic example is the Ford Pinto case in the 1970s. Under intense pressure to rush a car to market for a low price, the company performed a cost-benefit analysis on a known, fatal safety flaw. They decided it would be cheaper to pay out settlements for potential deaths and injuries than to fix the issue. The goal in this case, a financial one, became so dominant that it warped judgment and led to horrific consequences. It shows how an intense focus on a single target can make people justify almost anything. Third, the way we set goals can be a direct cause of burnout. Studies show that when goals feel rigid or imposed on us, even if we're the ones imposing them, they can trigger anxiety and emotional exhaustion. Now, goals we set for ourselves that are aligned with our values can create real enthusiasm. But when a goal feels like a non-negotiable obligation, it's often linked to burnout. Piling on too many specific, high-stakes goals overloads your brain, leading to that constant feeling of being overwhelmed, anxious, and unable to sleep, all classic symptoms of burnout. And if you fail to hit one of these massive goals, that can be even more damaging, crushing your self-esteem for a long time. If traditional goal setting is a trap, what are we supposed to do? Just give up on our ambitions and see where life takes us? No, of course not. The answer isn't to stop striving, it's to strive smarter. It's about switching from rigid finish lines to a more sustainable, process-focused approach. I call it the values-driven compass. Instead of a map with one destination, think of it as a compass that keeps you pointed in the right direction, no matter what the journey throws at you. It's built on 4 main ideas. Principle 1. Find your why. Align with values, not metrics. First things first. Stop setting goals based on what you think you should want. A goal like make 30% more money is empty. It has no soul. Instead, connect your ambitions to what you actually care about, your core values. Ask yourself, what really matters to me? Is it creativity, connection, learning, helping others? Research consistently shows that when your goals are aligned with your personal values, your enthusiasm goes up and your anxiety goes down. So, reframe your goals. Instead of get a promotion, try take on projects that will help me grow as a leader and better support my team. Instead of lose 20 pounds, it could be build a healthier relationship with my body by finding movement I enjoy and eating nourishing food. This shifts the focus to the value-driven action, not just the number, which makes the work itself feel meaningful. Before you lock in a goal, ask yourself this one simple question. If nobody on earth knew I did this, would I still want it? Principle 2. Build a process hierarchy. One of the biggest culprits of burnout is a long, flat to-do list of competing goals. It's chaos. It forces you to constantly switch gears and you feel like you're getting nowhere. The fix is to build a hierarchy. At the very top is your North Star, your big picture purpose. Underneath that, you have 3 to 5 pillars that support your purpose. These are the main areas of focus in your life or work. And finally, under each pillar, you have your processes, the daily and weekly actions you commit to. For example, your purpose might be to empower others through education. A pillar could be build a thriving online community. The processes for that pillar would be things like post one useful tip every day and spend 15 minutes engaging with comments. This structure connects your small, everyday actions to a bigger meaning. It gets rid of that scattered feeling and helps you focus on the things that actually move you forward. Principle 3. Focus on the process, not the prize. This is how you beat the dopamine drop-off and the fear of failure. Instead of obsessing over the final score, which is often out of your hands, fall in love with the process. You have to know the difference between outcome goals, the result, performance goals, your personal standard, and process goals, the actions you take. Outcome goals give you a direction, but your day-to-day focus should be all about your process goals. Start celebrating consistency instead of just big wins. Did you write for 30 minutes today? That's a win, no matter how many words you got down. Did you make your calls for the day? That's a win, no matter how many sales you closed. When you celebrate the process, you get a steady drip of small victories that keeps you motivated, without the crazy highs and lows of chasing outcomes. This makes you more resilient and almost immune to the discouragement that comes with the inevitable bumps in the road. Principle 4. Practice flexible reflection. Look, life happens. A rigid plan is a brittle plan, and it's going to break the second it meets reality. A sustainable system needs flexibility and a little self-compassion. Instead of setting a goal in January and clinging to it for dear life, schedule regular, low-pressure check-ins. Once a week or once a month, just sit down and ask, is this process still serving my values? Does it still feel energizing? What needs to shift? This simple habit lets you adapt to life as it changes, without the guilt of feeling like you gave up. Sometimes, the smartest and strongest thing you can do is abandon a goal that's draining your soul. Flexibility isn't a weakness. It's a strategic advantage that stops you from wasting energy on something that's no longer right for you. It lets you see setbacks as lessons and adjust your path, making sure your journey is one you can actually sustain for the long haul. We live in a world that glorifies the hustle, but we're starting to see that it's coming at a huge cost to our well-being. We've been taught that real ambition requires us to sacrifice ourselves for our goals. But the truth is, you can have sustainable success and personal fulfillment. You don't have to choose between your ambition and your sanity. By stepping away from the culture of chasing empty outcomes and embracing a more intentional, values-driven way of living, you can get your motivation back. You can build a life where what you do every day is aligned with what you truly care about, where progress feels energizing instead of draining, and where success is measured not just by what you accomplish, but by who you become along the way. The point isn't to stop reaching for big things. It's to do it in a way that lets you thrive.